It's been an interesting few months for me. So I've sort of brought this performance in half. January 7th, I turned 70. When that little 6 went to the 7, I realized I could no longer not think of myself as a person of a certain age. Once upon a time, we thought we had time as if time could be had. We thought we could pass the time, waste our time, buy some time, save our time, take our time, that there was plenty of it. Well, time's up. Scene from an all-night diner. Through twin glass doors, past the counter with vinyl seats that spin on pedestals of chrome, past the mirrored case of slowly rotating cakes, they sit at the same booth at which they've sat across from each other for years, eating the same dinner, the one they always pick from the stained menu with pictures of meals that never seem to match what's brought from the kitchen. 2 meatloaf specials, 2 iced teas for dinner, 1 rice pudding, 1 chocolate, dessert to go, to enjoy later. A familiar tableau, a lover's ritual repeated devoutly since the day they met so long ago, when they'd moan yes, yes, and then yes to knowing looks across a sweat-stained mattress. Now, after years of marriage and children come and gone, after heart attack and stroke, tonight it's no, 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 he yells, no to a blank stare across the table. She picks at the meal on her plate with her fingers, then brings a handful of mashed potatoes to her mouth. He knocks it from her hand, wipes her hand clean, and gives her a fork. Use a fork, he says, a fork! Then remembers, changes mood, softens. He takes her hand. Remember, he asks. He reaches his fork across the table, offers a tiny morsel from his plate. Remember? He sighs, I love you. I love you. He says, I love you to the blank stare. It goes on like this all through dinner, a frustrating present colliding with a yearned-for past over and over. They eat. They finish. She stares at the table. They wait for dessert. He watches her carefully at first. He gets impatient, then turns for a second. He turns just for a second to look for the waitress. Just for a second or two. A second or two wouldn't hurt. He's distracted by a young couple at the booth next to a window. They're holding hands. They're holding a conversation. The woman feeds her partner, who reacts with exaggerated ecstasy. They both laugh, all without breaking their gaze. When he turns back, she's gone. He panics. For a moment, he's lost her. It was just a second or two, wasn't it? Where did she go, he asks. The people in the next booth point. He follows the direction of their fingers to the carousel of cakes, where she stares transfixed by the motion of baked goods. He sighs. He laughs. He shrugs. I guess it's time to go, he says. He reaches in his pocket and removes exact change, which he drops between the plates. Don't move, he yells as he negotiates his way past booths and tables to join her. Stay put. Their waitress rushes to them, carrying dessert in 2 small brown bags. He takes them, shows them to her, and says, for later, he says, to enjoy later. They'd hold hands. 1 28-ounce can of Tuderosa crushed tomatoes, 1 6-ounce can of Contadina tomato paste, 2 boxes of Ronzoni No. 8 spaghetti, 1 8-ounce container of Locatelli grated Pecorino Romano cheese, 5 packages of Hungry Man Salisbury steak, frozen dinners, 1 head iceberg lettuce, 1 medium-sized bottle of Berlioz olive oil, 1 medium-sized bottle of vinegar. The brand doesn't matter. 1 8-pack of Charmin toilet paper, the one with the red bears. 1 12-packet box of Carnation Instead breakfast. That's what the aide called it. Instead breakfast, instead of instant breakfast. Their weekday companion, maid, cook, watcher with the missing front teeth, who called her mom, who called herself mom's other daughter, called it instead breakfast, which made sense, I guess. And it made me laugh. On Sundays, I do the shopping, then wash the bathroom, toilet, and sink with Clorox wipes. I'd wash both the bathroom and kitchen with lemon-scented Clorox wipes. I'd wash the floors on my hands and knees and vacuum the hall and bathroom and living room while he watched World War II movies and golf on TV with the volume at max because he would sometimes forget to put in his hearing aids. She'd watch him watch World War II movies and golf and didn't seem to care about the volume or cared more about him than the volume. She'd stare at him and smile. The stroke made it difficult to find words, so she remained silent much of the time, but he didn't seem to care about her silence or cared more about her than the silence, about the things she couldn't say that he most likely couldn't hear. He'd just smile back and reach his hand across the end table placed in the middle between their two recliners. He'd reach across the once end but now middle table, and even if she didn't notice, even if blocked by the lamp or a glass of water or plastic boxes that held their pills in day-imprinted compartments, Sun Mun Tu Wed Thur Fry Sat, they'd hold hands. Oh, thank you. Hide and seek. Making an impression in the mattress deeper than he, she sits next to her father and remembers strength, enough to lift her gently out of the car after a long drive and carry her safely to bed while she pretended to sleep, never letting on that he knew she was awake. It was a game they played, pretending not to know. Yesterday was a good day. He remembered her name, noticed the shell dangling from the gold chain around her neck, a present for her 10th birthday. They spoke of playing hide and seek in the dunes through midwinter winds that sandblasted their faces down to raw smiles. Today she's a stranger again. He can't even bear the weight of his right hand as she places it in her left, so she carries the weight. Lifts hands to lips, tries to kiss memories through fingertips. "Who are you?" he screams, attempts to pull his hand away, seeks some spark of recognition, hides his face in the pillow. "It's me, Dad," she answers playfully, still holding on to his hand. "It's me," she repeats, and then lets go. Keys and glasses. I must be losing it. I know I'm forgetting something, like my keys, like my glasses. I know we left it somewhere. I put it somewhere where I wouldn't forget, like you used to do as far as I can remember. And I remember you sitting in your recliner, no, 2 recliners next to each other in the garage. No, in the apartment he built for you next to his garage near the end. I remember, "Are the kids coming?" you'd ask. And it didn't bring them enough. Only for holidays or a rare visit when they weren't busy or with their mother, but you kept smiling and asking, "Are the kids coming?" And I'd say, "No, not today," and then go clean the bathroom. But that's not what I was thinking about. Not that. I was thinking about losing something, like my keys, like my glasses, about forgetting something, like you forgot after the stroke. You, not him. He kept asking about the kids. You, after the stroke, you couldn't find words. You'd struggle, and I'd let you. You'd struggle to find them, and sometimes you wouldn't. Sometimes you wouldn't find them, the words, and when you couldn't find the words, you'd smile and give a dissonant wave, a dismissive wave, the same smile and wave you gave him when he sang an exaggerated Italian accent, "I'm a lover you," and he did. Your husband, he did, so much that he left before you because he couldn't imagine being without you, and you couldn't wait to go, and were pissed that he went first, that you were still here, pissed when you left for Colorado with your daughter, and then for the hospice, and then to meet up with him again. But that's not what I was thinking about. Not that. I was thinking about losing something and about forgetting something, like my keys, like my glasses, and you. You say you'll stay and be my memory, that you'll remind me if I forget who you are, that you'll remind me I love you, you love me, we're a happy family. No, 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 not the Purple Dinosaur. They didn't watch that. They were too hip for that. Sesame Street, that was more their speed. And they, the kids, adults now, gone now. Are the kids coming? But that's not what I was thinking about, not that. I was thinking about losing something, about forgetting something, like my keys, like my glasses, like you, my wife, not the first one, the other one, you. The other one left and erased my memory, changed the past just by saying I never loved you. 12 years and 2 kids later, I never loved you. Are the kids coming? But that's not you. You are my memory now. Remember yesterday? We used to ask that when we first started seeing each other before we made our own memories. You, my wife, who says if I go first, you'll stuff me and put me on the couch, who says you won't let me go alone, who I am so afraid of losing. But that wasn't what I was thinking about. Not that. I must be losing it. I know I'm forgetting something, like my keys, like my glasses. Thanks. Old enough to know better. When I was a not-so-angry young man, I pursued earnest young women with guitars who played their pain and cried for help in crystalline voices that could shatter at a moment's notice, or moaned bluesy, smoky notes that clung to the air with the musky incense of loss and despair. Sadness was an aphrodisiac. Melancholy, a secondary sex characteristic, as desirous as supple lips and ample breasts. Oh, how I yearned to save them all, whether they needed saving or not. I wrote about passion, desire, and loss in the present tense then, clumsily sought eternity in dark places where I couldn't see what I didn't want to see, where I blindly crashed into delicious disappointment, sweet suffering, and oh, how I savored them. Now, as a not-so-bitter old man, desires mostly met, loss not lost, mostly stored as memories so far able to be revisited by the turn of a thought. My passions burn like embers, providing light and warmth rather than heat. I laugh at my misadventures more than miss them, but still remember them fondly, embarrassedly when reminded by the fiery words of youth, as I listen with understanding and a bit of nostalgia while I watch them burn. I still write about love, but now it's about its comfort, its constancy, at peace in its universal embrace. Now I turn my attention to the eternal darkness ahead, to the music that calls from within. Pursue it with eyes opened, open-armed, curious to encounter what awaits me there, what there is next to savor. Save me a space. Save me a space. Not too big, but not too small either. A couple of square feet or so, just enough to hold me. I feel the same size more or less as I always have, but I know in your eyes I grow smaller every day. So eventually I won't take up too much room. But I'd like to know that you know where to look if you want to find me. Light it. Don't leave me in the dark. Light the space. It doesn't have to be a bright light. Just enough. Just enough so I can see and maybe be seen. I think I still reflect as much light as I used to. Maybe even shine a little on my own. I can still feel the heat from my own light, but I know in your eyes I grow dim and cold, and there are brighter, warmer places you'd rather be. So a little light couldn't hurt. And amplify my voice, not too loudly, just enough to be heard from that space within the light. I know my voice is fading, becoming to you no more than echo, room tone, tinnitus. But I still have things to say, I guess that's why I talk to myself so much. I still have things to say, and I think what I have to say is worth hearing. But I guess that's up to you. It's all up to you now. When, where, how, and if you leave me just enough to be found and seen and heard. I'll wait. Oh, and if it wouldn't be too much trouble, a chair. A comfortable chair. Catch and release. Caught my reflection in an uptown store window, and all I recognized was the hat. It appears I'm old and fat. The hat looked good. The second major event of the past few months is that I lost my wife, Robin. Turns out the end game isn't turning out quite as I imagined it. The sound. I expect to hear a chorus of wounded spirits peal out a cry so mournful the moon would go pale with grief, or the deafening crash of desires and promises smashing headlong into what was truly possible, or the ripping of 1,000 unmet expectations into unrecognizable remnants. But all I hear is a barely perceptible sigh, the sound of a heart breaking. Too young. We were too young to be the topic of the tales I tell of old couples living endgame, were we not? Younger than springtime, as the song says, but there we were, thrust into free fall after the color, brittle brown before our time. But when it's your time, and it was ours, it seems. You're too young to have an old wife, you said. You're too young for staggering steps and deathly diagnoses, I thought and kept to myself. But when you were in pain and your body was weighed down by a gravity you had no strength to resist, when it showed every indignity, revealed your mortality, it could not be denied. Because that's what age is, isn't it? Mortality revealed. I felt ancient watching your suffering, did all I could to relieve it, fell into visions of earlier times, the little fabled life passing before the mind's eye, visions of a bleak future without you, a life I do not want to live. I silently scream your name, but somehow you hear it through space and time, heart and soul, and I see your smile, the smile you saved just for me. Then pain and age, past and future, disappear, leaving only you, the one I love, the love I see when I close my eyes, the eternally young, eternally beautiful, eternally now, you. Hospital. You got sick again. We promised no more hospitals, knew we couldn't keep that promise. Pretended we could. Ambulance and lobby and elevators and ER and ICU and ping, ping, pings and beep, beep, beeps. We share smirks at sing-song infantilizing nurse voices asking the same questions. Funny how they require answers from you, but have none for us. And now masks and vax cards and strict visiting hours and fear of COVID all added to that of MRSA, sepsis, monkeypox, and bed sores. And will this be the time you don't make it out? You love the attention. You don't deny it. You gift your smile to the EMTs, the ER nurses, the interns, the techs, at least for the first hour or two. This will pinch a little, they say, looking for your evasive veins again and again. You poor, sweet, patient pincushion. I tell them you have a high tolerance for pain, but a low tolerance for discomfort. They all laugh, but only a few get it. Those become your favorites. In our lifetime of hospital visits, I've gone from staying overnight to anxiously watching the clock. COVID put an end to endless visiting hours, and my back and stomach and increasing lack of patience makes it less likely I can go the distance, the spirit being weak, the spirit being willing, etc., etc. You see it, and when you can, you send me home, and I protest, but go gratefully. The phone tethers us. No sleep for either of us, because how could there be? When you're coming home, I don't know when. Cats in the cradle and the silver needles and plastic tubes and air-puffed cuff and cardiac wires. Are you getting better, they asked. How can we tell? Do you feel better, they ask. Compared to what? Check the machines, check the stats, BP, pulse ox, EKG, X-ray, blood work. Are you getting better? Is it up to us to decide? Is it up to the hospitalist, the virologist, the respiratory specialist, the cardiologist, the oncologist, the nurse, the aide, the cleaning staff? Get us out of here, but not before you're better. Are you getting better? And then the half-lie, false hope about being released tomorrow. And then the promised day of release and the one more day, one more bag of drip, drip, drip into your arm. And then another tomorrow. Wait for it. Wait for it. The doc okay, got to file my report, busy with other patients after lunch. One more test, the paperwork, waiting for the word, waiting for the transport, getting the car, carrying all the stuff we brought in to make you more comfortable, as if comfort was possible. The wheeled escape out the door. And home again, jiggity jig, to another nudge nudge, wink wink, familiar promise of no more hospitals. We used to sleep to the sound of the ocean, the gentle whoosh and shoo of waves washing onto the shore and then folding back upon themselves. Hey, Google, play the sounds of the ocean. We would hold each other until it got uncomfortable, then declare, every man for himself, retreat over the hump in the middle of the mattress to our respective sides, grateful that we could share that as an act of love and not of rejection. We would smile when we went to sleep, and while we were sleeping, I wrote a poem about that, and when we woke up, and during the day. We shared so many things that others found strange, and when we discovered them on each other, we would cry, "Landsman!" Laugh at how much we belonged together, shake our heads in disbelief at how long it took to find each other. We were husband and wife from our second date, though we waited a year before we got married. It took longer than that for others to understand, years for some to believe what we had was real. We would finish each other's sentences or start them at the same time. That would amuse some and annoy others, sometimes both. We didn't mind. We just loved each other from where we were, and those who understood came round, and we would feed them. We would often argue over who would go first. Not in life. In life, we would automatically put the other one first. But in death, who would die first and who would be left behind? My parents had the same argument. I have since learned that most loving couples do. We would argue, and you would say that if I went first, you would have me stuffed and put on the couch next to you. I wrote a poem about that. I believed that's how I would end up. We mostly fantasized that death, when we fantasized about death, would come to us at the same time, like the old couple in The Notebook, like the old couple in Titanic. We would just lie down together, and it would come. We would lie down together on the bed and hold each other until the final every man for himself took us. We wanted to believe that to be true. I didn't. I wonder if you did. I never asked. I didn't. And would beg you not to die, and you would scream the lyrics from that song from Dreamgirls, "I'm not going!" We'd laugh, but I took it as a promise. I was selfish. I was delusional. You once said that without your delusions, you require courage. when it came to losing you, I was a coward. We spent so much time in hospitals. Your body treated you mercilessly, and no matter how much I tried, I couldn't make it stop. We spent so much time in hospitals, and each time we left, promised we'd never return. I wrote a poem about that. But we always did. We went back to the hospital this last time, not knowing it would be the last time. I saw your beautiful smile greet me through the ICU door. I saw the eerie smile of gravity-stretched lips on that beautiful face after you died. And now there is no more we. I sleep alone, when I can sleep at all, on my side of the hump. I sleep alone to the sound of violent thunderstorms. Hey, Google, play the sound of thunderstorms. I need the sound of torrential rain to wash away my grief, the sound of booming thunder to mask my cries, to blast the unconscious into dreamless sleep, to help me forget. I sleep alone. I wrote this poem about that. Grief. You have a way of sneaking up on me without warning, a silent hands over the eyes, guess who, that brings back a hint of what was. A taste of salt-touched sweetness, an echo of twilight whispers, a familiar tingle in a hand which once found a home in the small of your back. Phantom sensations of an amputated love I had thought sufficiently mourned and safely entombed. I'd prefer to leave these memories behind, buried, headstone neglected and overgrown, an absolving blessing having put them to final rest, but here they come again. The hounds of hell let loose, tails wagging, wet tongues flapping, begging me to join them in some demented game of fetch. They overtake me, these unleashed memories of you, and carry me back into the black underground where I struggle to dig my way out, to escape the darkness before I give in to its comfortable familiarity and come to rest in melancholy. Road trip. I head down Route 87 at stupid o'clock in the morning. The mist hides the mountains, creating a false horizon. My mind also hazy. I reach out my hand, but yours is not there to greet it. There's just a cold, empty passenger seat driving home the point that I am alone at dawn, traveling through a cold, dark, faux flatland. The sun rises, fights the night and fog, and as the darkness dies and the mist rises, revealing a mountain view we shared on so many road trips, I realize it's you in the mist, in the mountains, in the sun that warms my hand on the steering wheel that holds my hand just the way you used to. Subtle. Leave it to you to die in the fall when bright reds, oranges, and yellows demand attention and compel us to remember their undeniable beauty in the bleak black and white dead of winter. Subtlety never was an option for you, was it? Thank you.